Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Aujourd'hui, c'est mercredi le 30 août. Today is Wednesday, August 30th. Your main thing today is going to be to make a flip video with the elements that we've been doing today, or this week. And you're also going to need to answer some questions for our first Aujourd'hui dans l'histoire, this day in history slide. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Aujourd'hui dans l'histoire, actually, just a second, it's going to be right now. Aujourd'hui dans l'histoire. So occasionally you're going to have a discussion assignment called This Day in History. Or actually, I'm going to put it in French up here because for some reason I haven't yet. Aujourd'hui dans l'histoire. En anglais, This Day in History. And as the name implies, this is something that happened on this day at some point in history. Sometimes it's recent, sometimes like today, it's very far back in history. It's always going to be in French, and I'm going to explain things in my daily video about it. I'll also, be using a lot of cognates, words that you recognize, and then pictures to the extent that I can to help you understand what is happening here, what I've written in the slide, and then you'll have to answer a couple questions. So, aujourd'hui, c'est mercredi le 30 août. En 1483. When we say years like this, we literally say 1483. 1483. Le roi, the king, Louis XI, Louis XI, est mort. He died. Et son fils, his son, Charles Rit Lafable, est devenu, became, le roi. So we have le roi, the king, Louis XI, Louis XI, est mort, et son fils, Charles Rit, Charles VIII, also known as Charles the Affable, Charles Rit Lafable, which affable in English just means like pleasant, est devenu le roi, became king. Okay, Louis XI, or Louis le Prudent, so he was known as Louis the Prudent, or Louis the Careful, Louis le Prudent, n'avait pas beaucoup d'amis. Didn't have a lot of friends. So the word ami is a little bit like amigo in Spanish, like friend. Those are cognates between French and Spanish. Charles Rit avait seulement 13 ans. So he was only 13 years old quand il est devenu roi de France, when he became king. We see this word quand anytime, here's an example, we look at question words. We're going to be doing more with these later on, but you've seen this slide already with all of the question words around it. Quand means when. You can use it as a question. Quand, when are we doing whatever? But you can also use it in this form. Il avait seulement, only, 13 ans quand il est devenu roi, when he became king de France. Charles Lafable est mort à l'âge de 28 ans. So Charles, he was king at 13 years old, but il est mort, he also died, à l'âge de 28 ans. So how old was he? Only 28, so he was not king for a very long time. Quand il s'est frappé la tête, we know that word, la tête, contre une porte, against a door. So back in the day, doors were probably a little more solid than a lot of the doors that we see today. And that was how he met his demise. Il s'est frappé la tête, boom, contre une porte. Pauvre Charles Lafable, poor guy. Okay, so I just went through and talked about some of these words that you might recognize because they're cognates with English, or in some cases with Spanish, like ami, mort. That word mort, we see a lot of words like mort in English, like a mortician is somebody who deals with the deceased. So mort, dead, we can figure that out. L'âge, we can figure out. Porte, une porte, I said means door. But if I hadn't told you that, looks a little bit like the word portal in English, right? Which is the door to another, realm or whatever. So, and then we recognize la tête because that's what we've learned with our TPR, la classe touche la tête. So there are several that you can figure out here. And then who is older, Louis or Charles? Who is older? Okay. So you should be able to answer those questions now. They'll be in a discussion assignment in today's folder. TPR, so this is what we've done before. The only difference, the only thing I'm going to change a little bit today is when you do your flip video, instead of saying la classe, Paul, la classe lui dit, this is saying the class does this, the class does that. And if you were in an in-person class, then we would be doing these things as a class. But since you are doing these actions by yourself, I'm going to have you, when you make your video, instead use the word je. I do this, I do that. It's the same actions. You're just saying je instead of la classe. So when you get to this part, you're going to say je parle, j'habite, je touche les cheveux. So the actions are the same. You're just saying je instead of la classe. Now, look at these two questions, numéro 3 et numéro 4. I'm going to be asking you questions every week. These ones are using the word préfère. Préfère. It's asking if you prefer one thing or another. So I'm going to use, when I ask you these questions, especially here at the beginning of the year, a lot of cognates. Est-ce que tu préfères? Do you prefer danser ou faire du sport? Do you prefer to dance or to do sports? Est-ce que tu préfères le bleu ou le rouge? Le bleu ou le rouge. So you're going to answer those by using, again, that word je to say I prefer. Je préfère danser. Je préfère faire du sport. And then for the color, je préfère le bleu ou je préfère le rouge. Okay? Est-ce que, we see that expression est-ce que, again, that's one of our question words. Est-ce que doesn't really have a great translation in English. It just means like do or does. It shows that we're asking a question. So when you see est-ce que in front of tu préfères, it's asking, do you prefer? Est-ce que tu préfères danser ou faire du sport? And then, like I said, you can answer that with je. Je préfère danser. Je préfère faire du sport. Okay? And then our mot de passe is au revoir, so you're going to be using it for the mot de passe. You're also going to use it to sign off. At the end, you're going to say au revoir. Now, when you go to do your flip video, there will be a video of me doing all of the stuff. So all you have to do is emulate, mimic what I do in this video, and you'll be good to go. Okay, that is it for this week. I have 12 o'clock to 12:30, Michon French Online, office hours today as well as tomorrow. So stop by if you have any questions for me. Au revoir tout le monde.